Right. So just rubbing your hands together. And then starting as always on your face, very light over your face. Sit up a little bit while you do this, but don't stiffen up, don't strain. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder. Arm. And then on the other side. And the upper part of your chest. Right on your belly. And finally your legs. Now, sit back, have your feet out a little bit. And this position is based on an exercise from a sister art Tai Chi called Each One. Each One means mind boxing. So, as you might imagine, it really emphasizes this meditation aspect of the art, amongst other things. And I kind of picked up this posture because I think it's quite nice as a way of just letting yourself drop down. But the full posture is also quite interesting because it involves holding your arms out as though you're holding the ball. And the idea is, if I turn around, I haven't got back to the chair, but the idea is that if you see there, what I'm looking for is a sort of alignment from my hand into my shoulder. So that if I were supported, the weight of my arm would actually be going back into the chair. And obviously you don't want to tire yourself out, you don't want to sort of strain or anything like that, and you want to build it up a little bit. But it's a strangely refreshing posture because you're quite open here, your arms are up, so there's this expansive quality, and yet eventually it takes a little while, but it becomes quite comfortable, and you can think about your breathing and so on and so forth. And you can even kind of almost visualize looking up at the sky or something like that. We're not going to hold it for too long, but you can build up to holding it for quite significant periods. Just feel you breathe in and feel that sense of opening up in your body that comes from having your arms up and out a little bit. If your arms get tired, then rest them down. And if your arms get tired, see if you can lower them down, still in the ball holding position, until they're just almost resting on your legs. And you've got that same sort of open quality in the body. And the idea is to get to a point where you can hold these positions with a sense of softness in your posture. So you could be here. You might want to just try, find a position. And sometimes it's also quite nice just to feel the change in your body. Generally speaking, up to a certain point, the higher the arms, the more the sense of energy that comes with the posture. It's nice and calm. And then, as I said, we're not going to hold for too long. Just slowly lower your arms. Bring your feet in. Coming to the upright position. And some of those same qualities, you haven't got the support from your back, but remember, your hips drop back, bringing your head up. Your feet and your hips and buttocks are still involved in supporting your body. So again, quite an energizing quality. Another element we can bring into this is if you just pull your chin back, you get that slight lift through the back of your head. So your hips sinking down, your head pulling up slightly just opens the spine. And just this overall change in the body from a kind of, this time of year, and not so much today, but we've had these kind of grey mornings and rain and so on and so forth. You get a bit kind of droopy and low in energy, which is understandable at this time of year. And then we sort of try and push through it, but rather than pushing through it, think about the Tai Chi principles. This opening, this alignment with the pull of gravity, leading to an opening. You're not straining for the upright position, just allowing yourself to come into it. And so this sense of that I've described before, kind of lifting yourself up slightly, lifting your energy, your spirit up a little bit. And a quality we want to try and maintain all through the exercises. So then gently turning your head. So we want to pay attention to how we're moving. We don't want to reintroduce, fall back into the habit of straining as we do this. And then your shoulders. And going forwards. Hands down to your sides. And then winding back. And forwards. Your hands up a little bit. Still rotating from your shoulders. And then back the other way. Rest your hands, easing forwards and push back. So when you come back to the upright stance, give yourself just a moment to get that sense of openness, however you think of it, and then see if you can maintain that as you go forwards. Because in theory, we shouldn't be straining in the upper body with this angled posture. In practice, it's obviously going to be a little bit more difficult. And then turn a little. And then in the other direction. Excuse me. And go. Remember, nice and smoothly. And back. Coming back to your central position. Pull one heel up, step out, heel, toes, push gently into the floor. And pull back. And then on the other side. And just take a moment once again to remind yourself of this feeling in the body. Notice your breathing as well. Just take a couple of slow, gentle breaths and notice the freshness of the in-breath. When you breathe in through your nose, you can feel a kind of tingle in your nose and maybe into the back of your throat and so on and so forth. And that also has this sense of kind of liftiness slightly, I think. So there's little things like that. This is much mind as it is body, as always in Tai Chi when we experience that kind of thing. Just allowing some of that sense of tiredness that can become a bit endemic at this time of year to kind of drain away a little bit. So then hands out to your sides and ease forwards. So what we're trying to do, one of the things that we're trying to do, I should say really, is to encourage that feeling wherever we experience it, whether it be with the breath or circulation or whatever, to try and encourage that feeling to spread through the body, through the different movements. One more time, one more round, and then we're going to change to fisherman castanet. Try and remember that feeling in your back of your spine, almost floating forwards and backwards. Once more. And then change. Once again, just notice that point where you come into the upright posture, letting your hips drop. And with this exercise and the next one, pigeon spreads its wings, once again, the arms coming up gives you this expansive feeling in the middle of the body. And it works the other way around. The expansive feeling actually helps your arms to move. So they're not separate things. But I'm trying to point you at this experience of your energy, your spirit, sort of livening up very gently. And then drawing your arms apart. And then pushing away. One more time. Punch with both fists. Again, if it helps you to think about your breathing, you can notice when you take an in-breath, that sharper feeling. You may even get some kind of sense of a pattern developing. In-breath as you go back, out-breath as you go forwards. As always, you shouldn't be struggling to maintain that. Just enjoy it when it happens. It'll be okay the rest of the time. So rejuvenating feeling overall in these movements. Do one more and then we're going to do a little set of 3. So from here we go back to pigeon spreads its wings. And then pushing away. Punch with both fists. Try and feel that rotation right into your shoulder, and then back to the pigeon spread of space. Let's do one more round after this. And then at the end of this one, open your fingers, turn your hands out, winding back. Last time. Now we change to the vertical movements. Before we use your arms, just let your hands rest. Push down through your feet and your hips. And it's not something you can see, but you want to feel as though your head is going up, almost like somebody's just gently pressing on your head. And you're letting them push you down. And then you're using your feet, your hips, to just push back up a little bit. So you get this feeling up and down your spine, almost like a concertina. This wave-like flow up and down your spine that spreads out through the rest of your body. And then moving your arms as well. Do that rotation again, which we've done several times already in the session, from the shoulder, so there, all the way through to the fingers. And then wild goose. Try and keep that feeling of moving through water, helping you to maintain a more connected and a stronger quality, but also in itself links into that more energetic, more lively aspect. Changing now to part in the clouds. This one does have this sort of very expansive quality, but never straining. You sit back, you push down through your hips, And it's a lovely feeling of your body opening gently. So don't overdo the movement. You feel how far you can go with this upward, outward movement without straining, and that's the reasonable limit of the movement. That's where you'll get the maximum benefit and that maximum sort of sense of energy. Beyond that, it's like you turn full circle and you start to come back and you're creating tightness and stiffening in your body. Good. Now dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Last time. Bring your hands around the front, pushing up with both hands. And then pushing out. And then if it's comfortable, you add the turn. Remember, not straining your body. So don't turn too far. You reach a maximum point of expansion without straining, which is that maximum sense of releasing and opening. And we have to really judge that by the sense of what's happening in our bodies. You know, I can't say this is X degrees or whatever, and it will change. It will differ from day to day. So very much dependent on that focused awareness within your body, which of course in itself helps with this sense of calmness and a clearer, less cluttered feeling in your attention. And then without scooping the sea and looking at the sky. almost going right back into that reclining position, that same kind of open quality. And you're looking at the sky. So in your mind, you know, you probably won't get that in your home unless you've got a big window in front of you. In your mind, you're sort of looking up and down. And then your hands twisted. Switch sides. And then changing. Your foot back. On your feet up again. Fold your hands over your chest and the archer. Pushing out. Turning your head gently. Feather out. One more on each side. Your hands drop down to your sides. Hitting the ball in front of the shoulder. Expanding on one side and contracting. And then on the opposite side. Remember the expansion, you should feel it. Your foot engaged, your hip engaged. And then hands down, just slightly above your head, your legs, and just circling around so that circling from the hip, but you can feel your head just moving around. Feel how your arms your hands are following that movement a little bit. Try going in the other direction. And then the exercise stirring the beans, where we use this movement and you go in one direction, and your arm reaches out like a cat. You know how cats put their paws out very slowly and sneakily. And then on the other side, going the other way, stirring the beans. So your arm extends from your shoulder. You turn, create the circle. Weight moves forwards a little bit when you do that. And then let your hands rest again. And once again, this lovely feeling in the sitting position, the feeling that we want to try and find again when we're standing, of course. I first started to think in these terms when a friend of mine who used to teach in Glasgow, and he was talking about some of the people he came across, like poor housing, social conditions, and so on and so forth. And at one point, I asked him what he was trying to achieve, what he was doing. If there was one thing that he was trying to get across to people. And he thought about it and he gave a really interesting answer. He said he wanted to raise spirits. And this idea of sort of lifting spirit, this internalized lifting, you can't do that if you're fighting, if you're straining. So it's a result of the way that we find our postures and so on and so forth. I thought that was a really good answer, and it's something that I like to remember sometimes. So this is one of the qualities that we develop in Tai Chi that we want to try and recognize in the standing as well. Basically done in the same way, but of course it can be a little bit trickier standing because you haven't got the support of the chair. It's not quite so easy. So you think about it, we experienced it first sitting back, and that's quite that sense of releasing releasing of the struggling. Then we went to this position, which is a bit more tricky, but gives you this more open quality. When we come to the upright position, now we take that quality into the standing. So what we do, of course, just to get the blood flowing again in your legs and so on, starting with your face, so tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down on the shoulder and your arm. The other side. Upper part of the chest. then your legs. Lovely. And then standing. So that experience doesn't just happen accidentally. As I said, it's a direct result of the postures that we take and the way that we take those postures. So think about how we get to the upright position. First of all, getting your basic structure there, feet hip width apart. Start pointing forwards or maybe just slightly turned out. And now just rocking your weight forwards and backwards. So first thing is to find that alignment with the pull of gravity, get the feeling of your center of gravity dropping. And at the same time, just allowing your thoughts to settle by paying attention to what's happening in your feet, your ankles, your legs, all the way up through your body. Coming to rest, trying to get to a point where your weight is slightly forward. This is exaggerated. But watch what happens when my hips drop back. This is that sensation of the head coming up. And chin pulled in, reinforce that. And so there's a very strong sense of coming into something in both mind and body and energy. And I don't know if you remember something I said a few weeks ago, that this whole process, particularly in the mind, could be likened to sort of be walking through a dense woodland and suddenly coming into a clearing and suddenly everything opens up. Or another image I quite like, which relates to the exercise part in the clouds, is this sense of, you know, the sun coming out on a grey day. It's a bit like that today, isn't it? You know, we've had these grey, rainy days. I know it's cold out there. It's a bit brighter though, and that brightness really does help to sort of gives you a sense of a lift. And what we're trying to do, we can use those kind of images along with the physical posture, again, to cultivate this sense of energy. So now sinking down and pushing up. Feeling your body expand and contract. Before we go into the movements with the arms, just try a couple of rounds of coordinating your breathing. Breathe in as you push up and your body expands. Breathe out as you sink down. And then bring your hand around in front of you and feel what happens when your arms become part of the movement. One more time. And then wild goose. and parting the clouds. And shake out. I've come across reference to parting the clouds being good for helping to deal with depression. I'm always a little bit careful of making claims like that because I think it almost makes it sound too easy. And you know, for people who are suffering from depression, it's not that easy. But again, you can kind of see how that idea may have come about. This sense of just opening out a little bit, that raising of the spirit. It's not going to cure a serious illness. And you know, it would be nice if it was that easy, but it isn't. But that, you know, that kind of sense of a lift, I think, is a really important element, and could be very, very good for people of all types and in all sorts of in all sorts of situations. And I mean, I've taught people with mental health problems, and not just this exercise, but the whole of Tai Chi can be very good for them at times. But now have one foot forwards and transferring your weight again, just taking time to register details, to notice details. Keep going, just gonna get a drink. And at the same time, remember your hips dropping back. So as you're moving, you've got this openness there. Raising your toes and your heel. Step in. Don't let the odd wobble, if you're getting it, disturb you. Because it happens to everybody. It doesn't mean that you're failing or doing it wrong or whatever. It's bound to happen sometimes. And then on the other side. And in fact, you know, it wouldn't be realistic, would it, to not have that odd wobble? So sometimes you can feel yourself going, oh, and then you can come back again. You can find your route, find your stability. Just transferring the weight. And then again, raising your toes and your heel. Stepping in. And if you haven't done already, change direction. Bring your feet down. Now 1 foot forwards again. Let's do pigeon spreads its wings and standing. So sit back, ease forwards, feel the expansion and the opening in the front of your body. And back. And the opening in your back. Again, if you fancy trying to just think about the breathing, breathe in as you go forwards. You get that sense once again of filling up with that fresher quality. One more time. And then the fisherman cast the net. A lovely wave-like quality through your body. And pushing away. On the other side, so pigeon spreads its wings. And fisherman cast the net. And pushing away. One more time. Good. Find your chair again. So like with the the sense of the flow, to which is very much related, I think, I was talking about last week. The this sense of rejuvenation, this renewal of our energy, I think is one of the things that we experience when we get the postures and the movement and the focus of our attention, so on and so forth. But it's one of the outcomes of the practice, not something that we should aim for. You can't force yourself into feeling that. You can't stand up or go outside or something like that. Say, well, I'm going to rejuvenate. It doesn't work like that. These are the qualities that are cultivated through working on the basic elements of the practice. That doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't be aware of them, and it doesn't mean to say that they're accidental. By the way, I mean it's that you knowing about it means that you can have the intent for that to happen. You get to know what tools enable you to achieve those qualities. So this is why I like to use the term cultivation in these things. If you're a gardener, which I admit I'm not, but I know a little about it. In the end, you don't grow the plant. The plant grows itself. What you do is you make sure that the environment that the plant is in is conducive to that growing. You cultivate. You use different tools to do whatever you do. I don't know. Whatever you do when you garden, if you get it right, the flower grows or the plant grows. So it's when I talk about the importance of the basics and not to concern yourself with the flow and that kind of thing, it's not to diminish their importance, but it's to point out how we achieve them, and having a sense of what it is you're trying to achieve is a definite plus in that. So now coming back into the sitting posture, the rooting down, the quietening, the calming can seem to be a contradiction to what I've just been talking about. But in fact, they're two sides of the same circle. But it's the rooting down, the calming, the clearing of your mind that are some of the factors that are involved in the cultivation of this raising of spirit. Just because you've been still and calm doesn't mean that it's somehow just kind of everything's died or whatever. So embrace tiger, return to mountain, starting with the opening. As you start to close and draw in, try and get a sense of what's being left behind. What's the feeling, particularly in your upper body, in your mind, with that draining away. One more time. And rest. Lovely. Thank you as always, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. Better for
Thank
it.
you.
Take
Bye.
care. Have a good weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Hopefully see you very soon. So
Good luck with your jabs.
yeah.
See ya.
Thank you.
Take care, all of you.
Bye.